know about the Facebook thing. Is it really like that bad for the teachers to have them and to be like interacting with students and things like that? Because what if you need help and you can't contact somebody, or you can use that as a resource?
Well, what do you think is good or bad about Facebook?
I really don't think that there's, as long as you don't try to use it in a bad way, I don't think there is anything bad about it.
Is there interaction between teachers and students?
No.
Facebook?
No.
Would that be a good thing or a bad
There's
thing?
stuff against it.
There's stuff against it, but I don't see what the
Oh, you mean there's regulations saying that teachers and students should be on each other's Facebook? Yeah, well that probably might get in the way, you think, and become a whole other distraction in school. I think schools, one of the things they like to do in schools is keep you not distracted. In other words, have you in an environment where you can learn and where the things you talk about and the things you do relate to you as a person, your personal growth, your personal knowledge, understanding, your intellectual development. And you know, your teachers are there to help move you forward. If it becomes a social thing between you and your teachers, I mean, it's one thing social among you, all of you, that's fine. That's part of what you're here for, to grow in your social network and your social relationships, communication skills. But once you know, I don't know, it just seems like it would be a distraction. And so much of what we do in the schools is trying to get you not distracted. So I don't know. What do you think?
I think, I don't know. It could be. It's iffy.
Iffy. Okay. I mean, there's no law against it. No, you know, in terms of the law. But the school can, you know, very often the school imposes regulations for your own good, or for what they think is your own good. And here again, it would probably be so that you're not distracted, so that that doesn't become something that pervades the school environment that distracts kids from learning. So I think it's probably not a bad rule. It's my personal view. Not a judicial opinion. Personal view. Personal view. Okay, next question.
I'll go.
Yes.
So with homeschooling, you know, you don't really get much social interaction with other peers. Do you think like Facebook would be a cause for homeschooling people to have more social interaction, but still not be at a regular school?
You know, I have not really looked into homeschooling all that much. My husband and I actually had a scholarship student at Penn that we were sponsoring, and she had been homeschooled for 12 years. You know, her whole, her whole elementary and high school education was homeschooled. And yet she was very, you know, she interacted socially very well. But it seems to me, for any person, you know, Facebook would probably be an enhanced way of communicating. And I guess for homeschooling, depending upon what else goes with the homeschooling, I mean, I assume there are some parents who have their children interacting certain things, you know, outside of the home to get that social development. But I would think Facebook and those kinds of things would be helpful, you know, to anybody, and I guess to homeschool. Now I have to confess, I'm not a big Facebook person. To my mind, I have so many things to do in the day. To me, that's just one more thing I would have to do. But for you all, how much time during the day would you spend on Facebook?
Not that
What?
Not that many.
Not
busy, so
we already have time. Yeah, you're too busy there. And it's pretty static, isn't it? I mean, you go on and you find out what else somebody else has been doing, and you put in your own Facebook what you've been doing. But you know, after a while, doing it is, you know, spending, you know, your waking hours doing things as compared to writing down what you're doing. I don't know. And I get all these requests, will you be my friend? I don't need any more friends. Thank you very much, I have too many friends. So, I mean, but I think it is a communication device, but we're getting so many communication devices, you know, and things to do. We have the Wii, and the Kindle, and the iPod, and pretty soon, you know, does anybody just sit and read a book? Of course on Kindle.
I do,
but you know, I worry about our generation. I worry about your generation, and whether you're going to be content to just sit and read a book, or just sit and think. I mean, very often as a judge, I write opinions, and I have to formulate the way the analysis will go in the opinion. Your father would know a lot about this. And so I will wake up in the morning, and I will have a new thought as to the way an opinion should be written, or just I will have something that's been kind of percolating in my brain. And I worry with all the stuff your generation does, the constant stimulation of your brain through artificial means, if you will, the iPods. Does anybody ever run or work out and just think, as compared to having music in their head? You know, but I worry about your generation and the constant stimulation, whether your brain has a time to just synthesize things and develop and just, because I'm convinced that when you don't have a lot of stimulation, your brain's still working. And I know at night my brain works, because my law clerks get tired of me saying, you know, I woke up this morning thinking, but that's what I do. I wake up in the morning and I just worry. Do you worry about that? Do you ever just kind of say, I think I'm just going to not turn on the iPod or not turn on the car radio, or
I do that. I'll like lay on my bed
and just like chill. And chilling, mental chilling, I think is a good thing. Anyway, I'm not sure whether that answered your question, but we went off, but that's a good thing. One thought leads to another. That's always a good thing. Yes?
As a senior, I'm going to college, and that's a big thing.
Do you know where you're going to college?
No.
That's okay too.
College,
that's okay.
This is back to like Facebook and like MySpace and Twitter and all those social networking sites. In college, looking at, you know, my Facebook account, my MySpace account, my Twitter account, and that, as you say, is an interaction between friends, and that's not how I would interact with a teacher, an administrator. What do you think about that?
Yeah, you say, well, that's not the way I want to be perceived by a college, because that's not what is intended for them. It's intended for a friend, but it is part of who you are. You have put yourself out there with a certain representation, and maybe the college will look at it and say, well, you know what, that's between him and his friends. Then again, they may look at it and say, does he really use that language? Or does he really talk about those things in that kind of way? I mean, it's all fair. I had a friend who used to be a lawyer in a law firm that I was with, and I lost track of her, and someone looked her up on Facebook. Well, she's a practicing lawyer in a very high-level firm. I couldn't believe her Facebook page. I mean, it was not professional at all, and yet here she was holding herself out as a professional. Well, if she had a client who decided they wanted to find out more about her when on the Facebook account, I don't think they'd be very pleased to have this person as their lawyer. So, I mean, you put yourself out there with everything you do. I told my son when he was growing up, the things you do determine who you are. Whether you like it or not, you will be perceived by other people. And they will perceive who you are from the way you look, the way you act, what you say, your Facebook page. Everything you do adds up to who you are, because people will say, oh, I know him, and there'll be a mental impression. Now, that Facebook page is going to be part of the mental impression. And, you know, you may not say it's fair, but we have to know that everything we do, it kind of is fair game, because we have done it. We've made it part of who we are. I used to tell my son on a Friday, when the weekend was coming, when you wake up on Monday, I hope you are happy about the things you did over the weekend, because you can't take them away. The things you did that are good, if you had a day of service on Saturday, that's who you are when you wake up on Monday. If you did bad things, that's part of who you are. All of the everything you do is part of who you are. So it's kind of heavy duty that you have to care that much about what you do. But guess what? That's part of becoming an adult. That is really who you are. And when you start working at an institution where you start teaching, I mean, these wonderful people around you, they are what they are today because they have done terrific things that have brought them success, and they've gotten reinforcement from all the good things, and they are where they are today because of all the things. And their Facebook pages are probably, you know, if they have them, yeah. Can't do it, don't do it. But, you know, the things you do, again, the things you do and the things you represent yourself, that's why your email is so scary. Because you will say something in an email to somebody thinking you're being very chatty and very cute and very clever and whatever, and yet, you know, it's not out there, but it would be retrievable at some point if you know, if there was some reason that someone, you know, had a right to look at it. But you know, everything that you do is a representation